Hey guys, this is Chris Archuleta from the band Box Elder, and you are listening to Mikey's Untitled Music Show.
Welcome to Mikey's Untitled Music Show, guys. Today we are going to dive into the musical mind of the band Box Elder. We have lead singer Chris Archuleta with us from Box Elder. Chris, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing great too, thank you. Chris and Box Elder, they have their new EP out right now, Between Endings and Beginnings, with their single Clarity. One of my favorite songs is Take One to Know One. And I also really dig Arrows, but the whole EP, guys, you can find it on Spotify, Apple Music. Check it out. Check out their page on Instagram, and they do have music videos on YouTube. Um, so, Chris, let's get right into it. We really want to find out where your musical creativity comes from and where the musical mind of Chris Archuleta and the band Box Elder comes from. Um, can you tell us about one of the earliest memories you have of being creative or using your own creativity with music?
Yeah, so I'm kind of late to the whole music thing. I feel like a lot of the people that I talk to usually about this we talk about like things that have happened in the scene, and people are like, oh yeah, I like saw this band at X venue when I was like 15, and like they've been broken up for 15 years now, and like now they're getting back together and they're doing this, they're doing that, and it was like some local band that's like ages old, like things like that.
Mhm.
um I didn't really start playing guitar until I was like 19 or 20. So it was kind of thrown to me a little bit late. Like I always grew up like around art, grew up like skateboarding and listening to kind of like punk rock, indie rock, just through skateboarding. And I always loved music. I was a big metalhead. But I think the first time that I ever like really played guitar was I was 19, and I didn't actually start like my first band where I was writing songs or like
Mhm.
a part of a scene or anything like that until I was like 25, 26.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was pretty late to the whole thing. And so I remember kind of like the early days of being, again, I was like older, trying to jump into the scene and navigate it as well as I could, and as like kind of quickly as I could because I again was so late to the party. Um, when I got into a position where I was like starting my first band, where I had my lyrics on display and things like that, it left a lot to be desired. We'll say that. I definitely got like a lot of pushback from my bandmates on, you know, you should take like a class on like learning how to write like
Mm.
stronger lyrics. Like you should learn how to do this, learn how to do that. So it was the thing of figuring things out very, very quickly and trying to piece and part them together. And I feel like in the last few years, especially during COVID, is where I found my stride. During COVID, I was listening to just more music in general. I wasn't working, I wasn't really doing much. So I was really digesting lyrics and learning how these people were forming ideas and getting those onto paper and creating something with them, which is a concept that I struggled with for a really long time. So that's kind of where things started and stem from to get to where we're at now.
What made you want to pick up the instrument and start playing?
Iron Maiden. um, Big Iron Maiden freak. I remember just kind of getting progressively into metal when I was like my probably like my junior year, senior year of high school. And I like through skateboarding, I always listened to like Bad Religion and Misfits and Minor Threat and like all that punk shit.
Mhm.
But it never hit me that I like wanted to play guitar. Like I didn't want to play an instrument.
Yeah.
And when I was in college, my freshman year, I was like, really trying to like navigate, college life, being on my own, that whole thing. So I very much was doing my own thing.
Hmm.
My sophomore year of college is when I really fell into like my friend group that were all punk musicians and they were
Yeah.
other skaters and things like that. And that's when it hit me that, man, maybe I should like start playing guitar, um, or like start doing music in general. And that's kind of where it started. Was just because of, I was bored in my my dorm room essentially.
And did you always sing?
Nope. Nope.
And so that was new as well for you?
Yeah. So I the first band I ever did vocals in was in 2016, 2017. And That was the first band that I ever sang in, but it was like the first band that like it was the first real band that I had ever been in. Like I had been in like cover bands with friends and things like that, like doing like Blink
Yeah.
52 and Green Day and shit, but like it was we were just like jamming in dorm rooms. We weren't out playing shows or doing anything like that. We were just hanging out and playing music together. And the first like real band I was in 2016, 2017, we were based in Salt Lake City. And I just kind of like had songs. I actually tried out for another band just playing guitar, and me and the drummer really hit it off. Started talking about music all the time and things, and we both kind of felt like the band we were in wasn't going anywhere, so we
Mm.
decided just to do our own thing. And that's when it was like, oh shit, like I have to be the person that sings these songs though.
Yeah.
And like they're my lyrics and like I'm writing the guitar parts, so I gotta learn how to sing this shit too. And man, it's been a journey, let's say
That,
that. Like it's funny, like how I could sit down and just like learn songs on the guitar. I could look up tabs and would just like, oh, there it is. Like I have numbers and the whole thing. I can just like learn how to play these songs. And with doing vocals in a band, I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like I'm just gonna mess up some 41 and Newfound Glory lyrics over and over and over again until I figure it out. Like we're just gonna go for it. So that's how it happened.
that's awesome, dude. Like, because you sound really good. You sound like you've been singing forever, So
No, no, no,
it's
no,
pretty
no,
it's
no.
pretty surprising.
Man, if you want to hear my old band after we get off this, and you'll eat those words.
I'm down.
Oh, it's so terrible. It's so terrible.
So so it was you and your drummer part of that band. How did you get the rest of the band that's there now? How did you guys actually come together? And how did what was it like? What were you looking for when you're looking for extra bandmates? Like, how do you know you want a bassist and another guitarist, or like somebody playing the piano, for instance? Um, like, what's that conversation like with your drummer?
So at the time, so that's my old band, and like with the old band, it was kind of like the thing of like my roommate played guitar, and he had a friend that was like, oh, this bass player, he would like to like jump in the band. And like at that time, I was going to a lot of shows. I was going to a show probably like 3, 4 times a week. And so I was making a lot of friends that were in local bands doing the thing. And so around that, I just kind of built up like the walls of my community and found like the people I wanted to be in a band with. Um, Now, bringing that forward to like where Box Elder is, it's really funny. So Box Elder started as like my solo project during COVID.
Oh,
I
okay.
I learned how to do like I just got really interested in like doing mixing and mastering and like studio work. So I bought a computer, bought an interface, and started teaching myself how to do tracking and everything like that because I wanted to like write and record my songs. I ended up putting out an EP independently. Like if you go to Box Elder and look it up, like the first two, I released two singles by myself. I
Hmm.
released an EP by myself. Um, and it's just funny kind of like looking at that because the only thing I didn't record during that time period were the drums. And I actually sent the stems from like all my guitar, vocals, all that to my drummer friend that lives in Salt Lake City. He recorded drums and me and him just sent files back and forth until I had four songs that I was really confident with and decided to put those out. Um, After those songs came out, actually, it was funny. I was playing D&D, um, and I played D&D with a friend who was a drummer, and our like dungeon master was listening to my EP, and our drummer Oscar heard
Uh,
it and was like, "What is this?" And he was like, "Oh, it's Chris's band." And he was like, "Chris who?" And they were like, "That we play D&D with." So then it was like, "Oh shit!" Like Chris like plays like good music, and me and him made the plan that we would like jam together. So that's how Box Elder actually like got started as like a band. And that was a year after, or it was like almost like a year and a half, like after the EP had come out. So now we're talking kind of like early 2022 is when Box Elder actually kind of like solidified. Me and Oscar got asked to play like a pretty big show. There was like a lot of talk about us having a project going on around town. Like I live in a very small town, but there's a lot happening here. So we kind of got word of mouth got around that we were doing what we were doing, and we actually got asked to open for Red Fang, which is insane.
oh shit.
So we ended up saying yes, going to the show only to find out that Red Fang actually had COVID. So they weren't
Oh,
play. So, but they asked us like if we just wanted to like quote headline and just play. And we were like, well, yeah.
duh.
So it ended up being like us like playing literally just every song that we had. But we were only a two-piece band. So we got done playing that show, and that's when we were like, are we a band? Like, are we actually like doing this thing now? And
Uh-huh.
that's when it became like, well, there's a lot of synthesizers and piano in our music. My girlfriend now, her name's Claire. Me and her had met at the airport actually, like at this
Oh,
same time period, and we started talking about music. I told her I was in a band, and she did that thing of like where like most people tell you that like, oh, I'm in a band, and they're just like, oh, yeah, you're in a band, cool. Like what? Like kind of like scoffed at it, and then I showed her the music, and she was like, oh, this is like good. Like this isn't what I was expecting.
yeah.
And so I was like, yeah, we should jam. She came over like 2 days later to where me and Oscar had a space, and we jammed with her, and it went really well. And then we had an offer to open for Agent Orange.
Oh,
um, so we got an offer to open for Agent Orange, and I was like, well, shit. Now we gotta like find a bass player like now.
yeah. Hell yeah.
Um, our current guitar player Ian and Will, actually our current bass player, I had tried getting both of them like into the band. I had had conversations with both of them about like joining Box Elder as like lead guitar and bass, and both of them were like, yeah, I don't know, we don't really have time, like yeah, I don't know. And then when the Agent Orange thing came up, I went back to Will and I was like, hey, like I'm not asking you to be in Box Elder, but would you want to jam because we have this show? And he was like, opening for Agent Orange? Yeah, of course. So I taught Will all the songs. We went and we played the Agent Orange show, and Ian literally was standing front row, like side stage, just staring at us the entire time. And as soon as our set ended, Ian was the first person that I talked to who literally like grabbed me and he was like, I want to be in Box Elder.
That's
And
awesome.
I was like, okay, well, I ended up. So it's funny, the people that I like wanted to have since like the inception of me and Oscar being like, okay, are we a band? Like, we need to find other people now. Those are the exact people that I'm in the band with now, but it just took some time to get there.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Like everything usually just falls in place,
Yeah.
right? Especially when you're doing things that you love. Things just if you're going for the thing that you love. This is something I want to kind of give advice to as well, like to anybody listening. If you go for the thing that you truly love, for some odd reason, things will fall in place. Like
Right.
it'll happen. You just need to get there, right?
Yeah.
And everybody, like I've said this before on the show, but everybody says, you can be whatever you want, you can do whatever you want, but nobody ever really tells you, but you gotta fucking work at it, you
Yeah.
know?
Oh,
You're
yeah.
gonna,
It's the hardest thing is like, especially being in a band where it's like, like any style of art, it takes being noticed in order for you to like get into those positions totally. And so much of that relies on the concept of like right place, right time.
Mhm.
But the other side of like right place, right time is nobody, it's okay. I'm not gonna say nobody, but it's very, 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 very unrealistic that the promoter for or the A&R person of your favorite label on earth is going to stumble into a DIY venue and it's your band's very first show ever. You have no music released, but you have a ton of demos. They walk up to you and say, "Hey, do you have music released? Like, we love what you guys are doing, blah, blah, blah." You send them the demos and then your career is made. Like that is so unrealistic. Like that's just not the way that it works. It
Mhm.
takes a lot of work in order to get into the position where you can be in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, and it takes a lot for somebody to learn how to get over self-doubt as well. I know I've had a lot of problems. It's funny, I was telling my wife was telling me the other day, like, because I'm starting to get a little more comfortable with these interviews and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm making it to be, like I want it to be more of a conversation. I feel like it's going that way, like now.
For sure.
But at first she was like, well, because back maybe like a couple months ago, we are going through a pretty not dark, but hard times. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
we are going on, hard times. And I had like a little not breakdown, but like a little like fuck, dude, like
It
I
could be a
wasn't
breakdown.
able. Yeah,
It could be
yeah.
a
Well,
breakdown. Yeah.
yeah, it could be a breakdown. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Because we all need it, right? And
Totally.
but it was like I used to sell on this app called Whatnot,
Mm-hmm.
and I wasn't able to sell at that time. And then I had like another little project thing going, but then I couldn't really do anything about it at that time either. So
Sure.
I was like, fuck, like I'm in a rut. Like like I'm
Yeah.
stuck. Like I don't know what to do. And like who the fuck cares about me? Like who the fuck is gonna like want to listen to me? Like what band are gonna want to fucking talk to me? You know what I mean? Like who the fuck am I? You know? But it's good for you to kind of say that out loud.
To-
And
Totally.
you know,
I'm right there. Like, I feel like last year we had a really big streak of like, we were touring a lot. We were getting really good offers for great shows. And
mhm,
I actually ended up, while we were on tour last April of 2024, I ended up getting sick and we had to cancel like most of our shows for like the last like 9 months
mhm,
because I mean people I was walking into hospitals with people saying that like, well, you might have cancer, you might have this, you might have celiac, you might have like a million different things.
Hmm.
and I'm just like losing it. And it was like the darkest I've ever been in. And then like my dog started getting sick and she developed like kidney issues where they were saying, yeah, it could be kidney cancer, it could be this, could be that. And it's like, why is all of this lining up like right now when I feel like we're doing so much growth? Like the EP,
Hmm.
we had made plans to do like a full month long tour off of the EP being released. We had to cancel all of those shows. We couldn't do any of that. So this entire since the time that our EP dropped, we've only played like 3 shows,
Mm.
which isn't at all like what was in the cards. And luckily, I'm fine. My dog's fine. Everybody's fine. And like
Great to
going
hear.
into 2025, like we have these plans of really, we're pushing.
Mm.
But there was that dark part of like time period where it was the thing of like, okay, if we're not touring, does anybody care about my band? If
Yeah.
we're not releasing a song every 3 months, does anybody care about my band? Is anybody listening really, anyways? Like, I feel like with art, it in any medium, whether it be a podcast, physical media, like what music, whatever, like you go through that. I feel like it's necessary for you to go through that phase of kind of like terror that
Mm.
the thing that you care about and the thing that you're working at is going to fail.
Yeah.
I just actually finished reading Tranny, Laura Jane Grace's book,
Okay.
and the band against me has almost broken up like hundreds of times. Like reading that book and hearing about like what she and the rest of the band went through is like I can't believe it based on how big of a band they actually are.
Mm.
Because I feel like you look at punk rock as like a pretty large spectrum, and you see Bad Religion and you see No Effects, you see these bands. Against Me
Mhm.
is like up there.
Yeah.
They're one of the biggest punk rock bands in the world. um I would never expect a band like that to have struggled so badly the way that they did and had so much like rejection as a band too. Like it's crazy like how many people just didn't want to listen to them as a band. I feel like right now I'm still in that phase with Box Elder. Like we're still in our like baby growing phase where I'm like,
Hmm.
man, does anybody even like my band? Like, does anybody like the new EP that, I poured my fucking blood, sweat, and tears into? Like, does
Yeah.
anybody even like it? Like, is anybody gonna like we have a couple new songs being mixed and mastered right now, and hopefully will be coming out in the next like 2 to 3 months. But it's even those I've been like sending them to labels and like my friends that work in the industry, and it does become the thing of like, man, like is anybody in the industry gonna like these, or is it just like, am I gonna kind of like die in the basements of 21-year-olds? Like I'm 30,
Yeah.
be 34 in a couple months, and I'm like, man, we're still playing DIY shows in like some 21-year-old's basement or like 24-year-old's living room. And
Mm.
those shows are rad. Like I'm not discredit. I will gladly play those shows every day until I'm dead. They're my favorite thing in the world. However, there comes a point of like kind of wanting to get to that next step. And I don't feel like maybe it's the dark side of me looking outward at my band and being like, oh, well, nobody's listening, nobody cares. Like it seems so inaccessible.
Hmm.
Um, so that's a big thing for, I feel like bands have to go through this phase. Podcast, you going through it, like other people in art, it's necessary for you to hit these dark parts.
And it's necessary to fail.
Yeah,
Like it's
100%.
like
You're gonna
it's
fail more times than you succeed. That's a
oh
fact.
yeah. I have like I've talked about it before, but I have an old podcast as well that I did with my friends and I did with my buddies, like reviewing movies and shit like that, right? Um, and I mean, it got to a point like my experiences with that show have led me to this, right? And my failures and my like it's just it's all learning. Like if you don't
Totally.
fail, you can't like that's one of the biggest cliches also, right? Like, oh, it's okay to fail, it's okay to fail. But it's really like it's really okay to fail.
Yeah.
Like
Oh yeah.
it's
That's what I do.
necessary.
Like it's 100 because you can't learn. Like
Yeah, exactly.
you can be taught something over and over. And that's actually like speaking of like, talking about Box Elder, talking about songs. Our song Arrows is literally about that concept.
Mm,
It's it's the mindset, like where I came from with that mindset of that song is somebody shoots you with an arrow, right?
mm-hmm,
Now, the next time that you go to get shot with an arrow, you can either stand there and be hit with it, or you can
mm,
learn from the experience and get out of the fucking way.
yeah. Hell
So
yeah, that's amazing.
that song actually, like, literally is about just learning lessons. And for a lot of us, kind of taking 3, 4, 10 times to learn the stupid lesson that maybe you should have learned the first time.
Yeah.
I've been there so many times where it's taken losing friends, losing relationships, like, losing jobs, like different things have like kind of culminated over and over and over again in my life without me really realizing that a lesson needed to be learned. And Arrows was kind of my way of realizing that and putting it into the structure of a song. So,
Mm-hmm. Where did the name Box Elder come from?
the bug.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's like um during COVID I ended up going on vacation. It was like I just needed to get away. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so after my last band broke up, when we broke up, it was a pretty ugly breakup. It was not great. It definitely put like kind of a damper on my desire to like continue doing music.
Mm,
I didn't really want to like keep doing this. I felt like I was too old to
mm,
like start up another band and like get things off the ground just by myself, if that makes sense.
mm-hmm.
And I ended up like I've always wanted to move to the Pacific Northwest. I always loved the idea of like being in like Seattle or Portland, but I had never actually lived there or had ever been there before.
Mm-hmm.
So during COVID, I ended up just kind of like going on a trip for it was like 2.5 weeks. It was like 17 days I was gone. It was just me, my dog, and a guitar, man. And it was the most eye-opening learning experience of my life, hands down. And there was a day I had been like playing guitar and writing a lot of lyrics actually for the first time in like over a year on
Mm-hmm.
this trip. And actually, that's where I wrote the song Minimums. That's when I wrote the song. All the songs on the first EP that I wrote that came out in 2021,
Mm-hmm.
all of those songs were written on that trip.
Mm, okay.
And so I have a picture in my phone of like my hand was like my hand was like on a log, and I kept feeling shit crawling on me, and I was like, "What the?" And I like moved my, and it was like box elder bugs. Where like the I was at Ruby Beach in Oregon, and I just had all these box elder bugs were climbing all over this like down log, and that moment kind of like it was like that lightning bolt moment, like where it was like I'm going back home, I'm recording an EP, and I'm gonna name like my solo project is gonna be called Box Elder. Like that's how it all kind of came together.
That's awesome. And then so you write your EP and like how long were you performing your EP before you started like with the band that you have now before you started writing your new EP?
So I am the slow, like, I feel like we've been playing Arrows since February of 20, oh God, of 2023 was the first time that we ever played Arrows live.
Okay.
It took us a year of playing Arrows live until we actually released it. We released the song on February 7th of
Okay.
2024. So it took us almost a year to release the song that we debuted.
Mm,
Um,
okay.
and so it was, I feel like songs like Takes One to Know One and
Mm,
Clarity, actually, those were both probably like mid 2023 that
okay.
those songs kind of culminated. And again, it was about a year before they actually hit streaming and things like that. The songs that we're getting ready to release, two of them have actually been recorded and released before, but I've never been happy with them. So
Mhm.
I deleted them from anywhere that anybody could hear those songs and was just like, you know what, I'm gonna redo them and re-release them. And the other two songs, again, like probably like a year. We've been playing them live, but we just
Okay.
haven't actually gotten around to recording and doing much with them. Um, so yeah, it's been a while. I mean, that the Agent Orange show, I feel like it was towards the fall. I think might have been like August of 2022.
Mhm.
And the first show that Ian played with the band was in December of 22. And the very next show that we played was in February of 23. I do remember that because we took a decent amount of time off just to get like everybody really tight. And we did work on writing some new songs actually. And that's the time period that like songs like Arrows, um, I feel like that was the time period of Takes One to Know One as well, was being written. We just weren't ready to play it live.
Okay. And then, so you had written this first EP by yourself, and then you like you now you're writing new songs with your band. What's it like? Was it difficult, kind of taking away like your not your, well, I guess your creative control? Like, was it difficult, like kind of like these are like the first one, these are my songs, or was it just like, okay, guys, let's fucking we got to make new music, let's do it?
So even still, I mean, as grumpy old man as this will make me sound, I still kind of have most of the creative control at this
Okay.
point, where I am 100% open to input and things like that. Um, it's more of an experience thing because I've been doing this a lot longer than my bandmates have
Mm.
been. Um, it's just the thing I feel like I write faster than that. I feel like they are maybe still playing catch up with me,
Mm.
if that makes sense.
Hmm.
Not discrediting any of them musically. Like musically,
Yeah.
they're all but we're all equals. I think that like all of us are better at doing certain things than others. But as far as like just the stance of like writing music and things like that, I still carry most of the weight in what is being recorded and what is being played live, because of just the experience I've had doing this. So
Okay. Is there a particular um like creative, like what's the creative process for you for starting to like write a new song? Um, like, do you start lyrics first? Do you just maybe have like a little riff going and you're kind of like, oh, that sounds good? Like, what is that start for you?
So I'm one of the weirdest ones. I've talked about this in the past with like other musicians, and they're like, "You do it the most ass backwards way," and I don't know how to like. I literally just have like notes in my phone. I literally have like hundreds and hundreds of notes in my phone of just lyrics. And certain ones are longer than others, where I actually will like make them into like stanzas where you'll see like a very obvious verse, a very obvious chorus, like things like that. And then I just play guitar all the time. So it's like my favorite thing to do. I play all the time. So I'll be, if I'm like learning other people's stuff, I usually will kind of just like, I'm really good about learning something from a band that I can play really well, like playing it along to that song. But then I'll take it and maybe like make it minor, or I'll start playing like the harmony of the riff like over the song to match it. And it's things like that that have like taught me how to like stack harmonies, stack chords in like different variances and things like that. So I kind of write things separate. I'll have cool guitar parts or cool lyrics, and then I have to just find ways to like blip them together. And sometimes it works and other times it sucks. And uh I feel like I've gotten lucky on a lot of songs more than the songs have sucked. So we've thrown out very, very few ideas um, in Box Elder's existence. Very, very few songs, very few lyrics, very few guitar parts have been thrown out. Where I feel like with my old band, I actually laughed about this like a couple months ago. I was like, Box Elder right now, we've been a band for 2025 will be 3 years. Actually, it's been 3 years. It was actually just this week. It's been 3 years since we played our first show.
Mm.
So in the 3 years that Box Elder has been a band, we have 2.5 times the number of songs that my old band had, and we were a band for 3 years, because we would write and we would write and we would write, and then we would throw an entire song away instead of maybe shifting things around. We would just throw entire songs away. So it's taken a lot of learning in like past experiences, things like that, to get to where I am now, of feeling confident enough to just write lyrics, write guitar parts, throw them together, show them to people, see how they feel. If they feel good about it, then we keep moving forward with them. If they don't feel good about it, then that is where my bandmates will come in and be like, all right, what needs to change?
Um, how do you, I'm sorry. What's the like most unusual place that you found like inspiration for a song?
Unusual place. Okay, so this is actually like I write a lot like when I'm like out hiking and just like
Hmm.
in nature, because it's just my mind is kind of more still. And I can like really embody like the thought and a feeling, and I can like really focus in on that and consider it from like many different spectrums. Where when I'm sitting at home or I'm sitting at work and things like that, I just have like too much stimuli kind of like being thrown at me.
Hmm.
I think I wrote all of the lyrics for Clarity in the shower.
Okay.
um, I remember I was listening to, I went through like a big, I was really into like Foxing, the band. And I was listening to like a lot of Foxing. I was listening to a lot of like Built to Spill and like Pinback and that type of thing. And I was kind of in that mindset of like, okay, how do I write a song more in the frame of like an indie rock song? Like I don't want to just write a bunch of like punk rocky bleh, pop punk, whatever you want to say, emo, whatever. Like I want to write like an indie rock song. So how do I do that? And it was I think I was in the shower listening to like Silver Sun pickups or something like that.
Mm.
And it just like hit weird where I was like started singing that like melody and I'm like, what if it was okay, like what if it was in drop D where it was like like the droning notes that you would hear in like a song like Lazy Eye. Lazy Eye
Okay.
has that like really specific where
Hmm.
it's that droning E. I'm like, okay, I take that, I drone in, I tune down to drop D and I'm going to allow that D to just drone out where I move the other notes under or on top of it around, giving it melodic context. And that's how I'll do that. And I'm sitting there like singing a melody in the shower. And then I think I started like saying words over the melody just completely randomly. And that's how Clarity got written. I was literally in the shower. I like got out and I think I like butt ass naked sat on the toilet and just like was like, okay, like I'm gonna write this song. And like that was it. Like it's yep.
That's
It'd be
that's
like,
amazing, dude. Like it's funny where I like asking that question because it's funny where we can get our influence from, or where we can get like sometimes we just have an idea and it's just like I need to do it right now, you know. So yeah, that's amazing.
heard it before, dude, like where like people like they're maybe not Mariah Carey or somebody like huge in like the pop realm. Like they used to sleep with a with like a journal pad like next to them that was like just filled with lyrics and shit like that. That they would like wake up from like a cold fucking sleep. They would wake up and be like, "Oh, that's a good line," and would like reach over and like would jot it down really quick, and then like fall back to like dead sleep and wake up the following morning and be like, "Oh shit, that's a great lyric."
That's awesome.
Like I can't remember who it was that did that, but I read that in a interview once or heard it somewhere once. I was like, oh my god,
What what has or what has been the ultimate purpose of music in your life?
it's literally the thing that has been it's the most constant thing in my life. Like there's no denying that. Like no, there's zero other thing in my life that drives me the way that music does.
Mm.
Um, I've struggled with mental health my entire life. And when I was a kid, like growing up skateboarding, I mean, I couldn't like I would listen to music to like hype myself up when I was skating. It was the thing of like I was having like a shitty day or whatever, and like my parents got a divorce like fairly early on. My
Mhm.
dad's kind of a piece of shit, and it was the thing of like dealing with those emotions. I'd throw on fucking Bad Religion or
Mhm.
whatever, and it was my way of getting out, just clearing my head.
Yeah.
Skateboarding, music, those have been like the two most constant things in my life. And as I've gotten older, it's been more prevalent because I have just been through, everybody goes through things in their life.
Hmm.
Everybody goes through like terrible situations. Music is the thing that has brought me the most joy and has made me kind of see the end of the tunnel more than anything else. It's like my way of connection. It's my way of kind of feeling like, oh, I'm not the only person that feels this shit. And it's I don't think anything else on this earth has done more for me than, my CD collection and a shitty acoustic guitar have.
Mm. Yeah. Um, music's been pretty much the same thing for me. Um, music has always been my escape. It's always been like I can put if I'm feeling a certain way, I can put on a certain song and I can make myself feel if I'm feeling sad, I know what songs to put on there to make me feel happy. If I'm
Right.
feeling defeated, I know what songs I can put on there to make me feel uplifted. And it's always been like the fact for me, it's always been very intriguing to me why you get like why you get chills like when you listen to a good song,
Oh,
or
totally.
why you get chills when you listen to a first like that song for the first time, and then
I
you
like
keep.
cry in my car all the time. Like that's the thing of like I'll just like not even like the thing of like listening to like a really sad song that's like very somber and it like, it makes you cry. I don't think I've ever okay, I definitely have done that, but like it's one of those scenarios actually one of the new lyrics for one of the songs that Box Elder has coming out is sometimes it's okay to water the lawn when it's raining.
Mhm.
And that just means that like it's already raining. Everything in your life is going bad. And you know what? Sometimes those like sad songs, you gotta water the lawn a little bit. And
Yeah.
it's gonna definitely hurt. But those songs might be the thing that saved you in that instance too.
Mhm.
And like the other day, like I was saying, I just finished reading Tranny. Like I just finished reading Laura Jane Grace's book, and I was taking my dog on a walk, and just threw in AirPods. Was out. It was like a beautiful sunset, the whole thing, and I'm just jamming against me. And I just like the context of those songs means so much more to me now after reading her book and understanding where they're coming from. Like I wasn't even sad, dude. I was like smiling ear to ear, and I was crying. Like
Mhm.
it's a beautiful thing. Like music is so powerful.
Do you have any like pre-show rituals or anything like that? Like you got to put on your lucky socks, or I got to wear this hat or something like. Do you have anything like that?
Not really. I feel like I definitely back in the day, old band, old situations, I used to definitely like try to look the part where I was like, I need to look edgy as shit, like for all these shows. And I would like go out of my way to like make myself look like dirtier and like things like that. It was just weird. It was stupid. Um, I think now that I'm like getting a little bit older and like a little bit more maybe formal's not the word, professional
Hmm.
in like
Yeah.
my approach for Box Elder and the band and things like that. I like actually do vocal warm-ups now, which is a new thing. I like
Okay.
actually warm up on the guitar for like 45 minutes to an hour before every show. Like instead of just jumping on stage and being like, oh, I'm
Yeah.
playing like shit. And it's like, well, yeah, you didn't
You
warm
didn't
up.
warm up.
You
Yeah.
didn't do the things that you needed to do. I think now it's a thing where I wear like my favorite pairs of socks. I wear like my favorite pairs of underwear. I wear my favorite pairs of jeans. Like I try to like wear like my most confident clothing every
Hmm.
time we play, and it just kind of like lifts me up a little bit. It's like it's that thing of like I can step out on a stage and I'm like I'm looking good, so I'm feeling good, and that's already the little bump I needed to get me through the next 45 minutes or whatever.
For sure. Yeah.
But we don't do any of that like box elder 1 2 3 yeah, like none of that. Like I see bands do that all the time though on the road, and whatever works for them, man. Like
Yeah. Hey,
more
whatever
power to you.
works.
Yeah, it works for you. That's rad.
So the last question that I like to ask, Chris, is what is Box Elder's um message? Like what is Box Elder trying to project into the world?
Um, from a very loose stance, I feel like every one of our songs kind of diverts back into my experience with mental health. Um, it's the thing that like has haunted me my entire life.
Hmm.
And like as time has progressed, like I remember being in my 20s, like I didn't know what anxiety was. Like I
Yeah.
didn't know what like anxiety felt like. I would stay up until midnight drinking coffee and like whatever. And like there was no like zero anxiety about that. There was zero like stress, all these things. And I really had like I've struggled with substance abuse issues for years and years and years. And now that I'm sober, it has been the thing of reflecting back on all of those things and what I was going through and how it was impacting my mental health.
Mm.
Um, and that stuff's it's permanent. Like those things that I went through then, like they've permanently affected my mental health and will affect my mental health for the rest of my life because
Mhm.
of the decisions I made when I was younger. And a lot of like the things that I've like done to other people and like said to old friends or whatever have you, like those things kind of all have a weird way of culminating as you get older and become your anxieties and your traumas and the this and the that. Um, I feel that Box Elder has been my message, no, not to other people, but to myself that I'm trying to become a better person and that
Mhm.
I'm trying to get past these anxieties, the mental just blech that I've dealt with my entire life.
Mhm.
Uh, I want people to hear our songs and have that feeling that I want other people to hear our songs and for them to feel the way that I felt listening to my favorite bands.
Mhm. Mhm.
Like if I could be that catalyst for somebody else out there that's going through some bullshit and
Mhm.
they're looking for it, that song that, you know, is right time, right place for them, and it becomes their favorite song in the world, literally nothing on this earth would make me happier. And if that is you, please reach out to me. Like that would be nothing on this earth would make me happier than to know that my song resonated with somebody so greatly that it convinced them to stop drinking, it convinced them to be more honest, it convinced them to get out of a bad relationship or bad situation that they're caught in, to leave their shitty terrible 9 to 5 job. Like if I could convince somebody to do something like that to better themselves, that's that's peak for me. Like that's it. Um, One thing that I've kind of like been preparing, obviously, with like the election and all the crazy shit that we have going on in our world right now, too, is that like I want people to feel safe listening to my band as well. And I want that to be more portrayed in our music and like when we're on stage and things like that. I want people to look at us as allies in the fight that they're going through. I've been having a lot of conversations over the last week since the
Yeah.
inauguration, everything else. I've been having a lot of conversations about it. And we've lost like about 100 followers from our Instagram because people just like, I'm like, I don't know how our music reached this demographic of people. I just have no idea. And it sucks that that's the case because if my music is reaching those people and they're so argumentative over LGBT rights or like then maybe my message isn't being as clear.
Mhm.
And that's something that I'm actively working on is finding ways um, to maybe make our message a little bit more linear and more clear on like what we stand for as a band. So that's actually a really good question. I've been really thinking about that a lot lately.
Yeah, and I mean, everybody's gonna have their everybody's gonna have their opinion about what things should be or what things shouldn't be. But the thing that I love about music is that like you said, you don't know how they reach that demographic, right?
Right.
But they felt something with your music.
For sure. For sure. Even if they are, whatever, even if you like don't like gay people, like our music for some reason still reached this person and they were like into one of our songs. Like I'm like, again, I'm not glorifying that, but
No,
it
yeah.
it is cool that that is a thing that could happen, but it's a shitty thing that it, you know, you know
Yeah.
what I'm trying to say. Like,
Yeah, I know what you're trying to say. But yeah, I mean, you can't you can't like one thing that I've learned growing up as well is like you can't control other people. Like you can't. Like
no,
it's
absolutely.
not possible. The only thing that you can control is yourself. And if you have kids, you can control what happens around them, right? You have family, you
Environment
can't
thing.
like yeah, exactly. You can control it, right? So, you know, as long as you're doing what you love to do, I think that's just, you know, I think I think that we all should be here to do the things that we love to do.
Agreed.
Not everybody's gonna agree with it. Not everybody's gonna,
I love America.
like not everybody, but we're still all one people, and we're still and and this thing called music, this invisible thing that goes in between our ears and through our minds and through our souls can still, no matter what anybody views, can still bring people together to one place.
Right.
And that's the I just that's just a thing that I love about music, definitely.
I agree. I was just having that conversation earlier today as well, actually, that it's I mean, ever since I mean, look at the Woodstock, look at the fucking 70s. I mean,
Yeah.
that entire movement brought about, the end of confrontation. They almost have brought about like the end of war. I mean, like that
Yeah.
whole, there being things like that. Like the power of music is it's so ingrained in us as like sentient beings. Like we're just
Yeah.
like music has existed for as long as we have existed on this earth.
Hmm.
And you look at, you know, every corner of this earth has had their own variants of music at different times and bringing that and then it's funny to think about too that like I mean whatever you happen to believe in you know hundreds of thousands of years ago people had drums
Hmm.
and would just form circles and their drums were like a way of like creating like spiritual experiences with each other and now
Hmm.
I'm doing that exact same thing creating a or I'm watching a spiritual experience or whatever but instead I'm watching fucking Coheed and Cambria
Hmm.
like with a room of 5,000 other people
Yeah.
it's the same thing and it always has been and that is like a very beautiful thing about music is the level of how unifying it is.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you, Chris, for joining us. Chris, the Box Elder. Um, can you tell us where you can find your music?
We're on Spotify, Apple Music, Bandcamp, YouTube. We got 2 music videos on there. Um, keep watching though because we got new music coming probably in the next like maybe in March, maybe in April. So
Okay.
we're just kind of like playing it out. Again, we're shopping with labels and things like that. Fingers crossed.
Oh,
Everybody
nice. Fuck
crossed.
yeah, dude.
So
Congratulations. That's amazing.
well, we're trying, and
Yeah,
so in that process, we'll kind of like see if anybody decides to take us on, and if so, that'll kind of distinguish what our release schedule is going to be. But we're working on it.
that's beautiful. Yeah, I got no doubt about that, bro. I can tell you right now, I have no doubt about that.
Fingers crossed. Fingers
Fingers
crossed.
crossed. Fingers crossed. But yeah, thank you again for following me along in this journey as well. This is
Thank
also
you. Thank you for having us.
um yeah, it's also pretty brand new for me, and like the reception I've gotten from different artists and different bands, like it's amazing. Like it's amazing. And for me, and for somebody to like trust me with their music, that's something I take very seriously.
For sure.
And I don't, you know, um I just my goal with this show is to spread new music, spread the love of music, spread artists that you know don't have the means to promote themselves pretty much also, right?
Right.
Like like not maybe not means, but well, yeah, means like they don't have like this extra fucking $3,000 to pay for some kind of promotion, or they don't have like or like their following isn't like maybe they have like it's crazy for me to say also maybe they only have 2,000 followers, but that's a lot of people. That's a lot of people going towards like one artist or one like musician. So I want to be that like little conduit, that new music conduit. And I don't want to just like yeah, I want to spread the music, but I also want to spread like and give like a platform and voices to those people as well.
For sure.
Because I've always been interested in like I said earlier, the whole thing about this podcast is where your like musical creativity and what created your musical mind, like those things. Like I've always been intrigued, and I want to find out what that is. And I'm one person in this world, and there's 7 billion other people out there. At least a million also would like to know like where the music comes from, right? And
Totally.
that's where and that's what I want to know. That where does the music come from? What's your story? And let's spread it out. Let's get it all out there. So again, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank
And
you.
like we say at the end, everybody, be safe, be great, and remember we share because we care. Peace.